Before I begin on my journey of when I started at Van Buren Youth Camp in 1997, I'm going to take you back a year earlier. In 1996, I was 11 years old, and I come from a very large extended family, and I'm one of 3 girls from the suburbs of Chicago. I was living happy, outgoing, wonderful life. Spent my summers in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, very close with my sisters, and just 2-parent family. Just had, I felt like I had the perfect life. And I had many, many very close relatives that lived within walking distance of my home that I hung out with a lot. And all it took was one night for my innocence to be stolen and my life to be transformed forever. It was in September of 1996. I had gone to stay with my grandparents in their condo. And I had gone to sleep that night with all my cousins. My sister stayed with me. She was my older sister. And we had gone to spend the night. And I was the younger one, so they all took off and were going walking around the condo that my grandparents owned. And I went to sleep on the air mattress. Never imagined to wake up at 2 in the morning to my older teenage cousin Brian sexually abusing me with his hands down my pants. Like I said, this is probably not a topic your teachers have ever informed you about. I'm sure many of you never have heard someone come into class, because I've spoken in many classrooms before, and often people tell me they've been told someone comes and speaks to them about fire safety, as you guys did the fire drill today. We did plenty of those when I was younger. Someone may have come into your schools talking to you guys about stranger danger. I was always informed about not looking for that lost puppy or going taking candy from that stranger. And of course, the tornado drills, the bus drills. But I'm sure many of you never remember someone coming in and talking to you about sexual abuse. So when I was sexually abused and I woke up the next morning, I didn't know who to turn to. I didn't know what to think. I was confused. I was lost. I pretty much tried to block it out, pretend it didn't happen. But it continued. A few months down the road, my cousin did it again. But this time I was awake. And I'll never forget him telling me, this is our little secret. No one's going to believe you, and you will destroy our large extended family. And his threats kept me silent. I was afraid that I would destroy our large extended family. I was afraid no one would believe me. And of course, nobody was talking to me about this. So it continued as I watched my cousin's younger siblings. They lived just down a path from my house. And so my aunt would constantly call me, come watch the boys, I need to go to the grocery store, I need to do this. And I hated lying to her. So I'd always say, okay, I'll do it. And that's after school hours, my aunt would stop me. Weekends when she was going out with my uncle. And my cousin always happened to come home at the perfect time to somehow lock me behind some bedroom, bathroom, basement, closet. You name it, he found a way to sexually abuse me. And the continuous threats he told me kept me silent. And people often wonder, why didn't you just tell your parents? Why didn't you tell your teachers? And like I said, you're consumed with so much fear, and you're consumed with so much no one's going to believe you. How do I prove this happened? And being a young child, these thoughts ran through my head, and I felt like I had no proof, as he constantly told me. I had no proof. I'm going to read you a diary entry right before I came to camp. It was my diary that I kept my secret locked away in. It was the only place that I found my voice, hiding it under my mattress, hoping no one would find it. August 1997. This is a month after my first year at camp. I had come home a month earlier. It happened again, this time in Brian's bedroom closet. I was upstairs watching the younger boys when I heard Brian come home. I immediately climbed into Brian's closet, praying he wouldn't come upstairs looking for me. It was too late. Brian asked the boys if they knew where I was, and they told him I had just been in the room. Brian must have known I was hiding from him, because he began roaming the upstairs for me. Brian is like a mountain lion, looking for his next attack, never knowing when he will strike again. The younger boys continued to play Nintendo, and Brian came back in the room looking. When Brian opened up the closet, I sat as still as possible, but he discovered me. He told me I couldn't outsmart him. He climbed in the closet and closed the door. He slowly began touching me, and I begged him to please stop. Slipping his hands down my pants, he ignored my pleas and continued to touch me. His hands are so rough compared to my tiny hands. I try pushing him away, but he doesn't stop. Instead, he becomes more aggressive. The closet's so small, so it makes it so hard to fight him off. All I could hear was the sound of the Nintendo game playing in the room where the boys had no idea what was going on. I honestly think if they did know what was going on, they wouldn't know what it was or wouldn't understand because they were too young. I knew I couldn't fight Brian off, so instead I held my breath and closed my eyes, hoping it would end soon. Brian whispered in my ear if I told anyone that no one would believe me. The truth is, I'm afraid to tell. I feel Brian is right, and no one will believe me. I don't want to destroy our family. I'm afraid if I tell, I will be in trouble for not telling sooner. I don't know what else to do. All I do is pray. Pray that someone other than myself will hear my pleas for help. I sometimes hope my mom will discover my diary and read it. A month earlier, I had been here at camp, and it was the greatest relief of my life, because summertime was the time my cousin often got to me the most, because I was off not in school, so my aunt constantly was calling me over to watch my little cousins. In 1997, I came here for an entire week, and it was one of the greatest weeks of my life. But there was this fear in the back of my head knowing what I had to return to. I made some wonderful friends. I journaled about that wonderful experience, but knew what awaited me at home, the terror that I would have to go through. This continued, the sexual abuse, for another year. During my holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and as I continued to watch my little cousins. And then in April of 1998, so this has been going on for nearly 2 years, my little younger sister was 11 years old and I'm now 13, came to me and told me, Brian's gross. That moment is frozen in time because I knew exactly what that meant. That meant my cousin was abusing her too. I was sickened and I was filled with so much anger and began blaming myself, feeling like I could have prevented this. And together we broke our silence. I knew, having her coming forward and me coming forward, someone would have to believe us. But then again, we were so afraid that no one would believe us because we had never been educated on this, and afraid of our family turning their back on us. When my parents did learn what happened, they were completely supportive and understanding and have stood behind us 100% to this day. And they immediately contacted my cousin's parents. And our main goal was not to get my cousin locked away, but our main goal was to make sure he got help. He was a teenager at the time. And make sure whatever caused him to do this, he would never do it again. But as my cousin warned me, no one would believe me, that we would destroy this tight-knit family. It eventually did destroy our tight-knit family. But you may be surprised, they weren't taking our side, they were taking my cousin's.